All right, welcome to the October version of the National CyberWatch Center webcast series. Casey O'Brien, I'll be your moderator today, and we're here to talk a little bit about the COVID-19 perception survey that was administered to the Center's National Cybersecurity Student Association. So without further ado, just a couple items business related. Everybody's doing a good job of keeping themselves muted when not talking. Feel free to ask the panelists questions. You can post those directly in the Zoom group chat, and we'll make sure to get to those. And I'm sure both Blake and Gus don't have an issue if you want to ask questions while they're presenting instead of saving them to the end. So we run this series, this is going on now the 7th year, and these are usually the last Thursday of each month. They're about an hour long. We usually run them at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We record them, we archive them on our YouTube channel. So this is being recorded right now. And today is not the last Thursday of each month, or October, I should say. And then you'll also see in red a couple upcoming webcasts. And we decided to do 3 in October just to kick off National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is a partnership between Department of Homeland Security and the Center for Infrastructure and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and Stay Safe Online. And it's primarily awareness related, geared towards really sort of, the country writ large. And so to help celebrate and bring awareness to various issues, we decided to do 3 webcasts. You can see October 21st and the October 28th versions. These, the panelists in both of those webcasts on the 21st and 28th represent the best submission and the best submission runner-up from our annual Innovations in Cybersecurity Education program. And we did a special topic, if you will, our special theme that focused on all things related to the transition to online learning and education as a result of the pandemic. And we treated that the publication that got released about a week ago or so. I'll post the link to that publication in the Zoom group chat here when I hand the baton off to Blake and Gus. So you can download that if you want. We've done that Innovations in Cybersecurity Education program for about 4 years. And this presentation that you're going to hear about was also included in that, if you will, special issue of the 2021 Innovations in Cybersecurity Education program. So, and I will, once I pass the baton off to Blake, in addition to posting a link to the Innovations in Cybersecurity Education publication, I'll post links to both the webcast on the 21st to sign up for that, and a link to sign up for the webcast on the 28th. So today's webcast recorded today. I'm your moderator. I'm the Assistant Executive Director and Co-Principal Investigator of the National CyberWatch Center. We have with us Gus Hinojosa, who's the Director of the National Cybersecurity Student Association. And Gus is going to talk a little bit about the Student Association and set the stage then to hand off to Blake Urbach, who's a Principal Consultant with Preferred Program Evaluations. She's has been and is currently the External Evaluator for the National CyberWatch Center, going back to starting in 2016. So going on 5 years now. And in that role for the center, Blake's responsible to make sure that we're collecting data and we're capturing metrics and telling the story about the impact that we're making as a result of specific grants we get from the National Science Foundation. And then she writes an annual report and does a presentation and delivers that to the various interested stakeholders yearly. So real critical part of our team to make sure that we're doing the things we told the National Science Foundation we would do. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing and I'll turn it over to Blake she's going to run her own slides. Okay.
All right, everyone. My name is Gus Enosa Jr. I am director for the National Cybersecurity Student Association. I've been the director for about 5 years now. Next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Student Association. So the National Cybersecurity Student Association is a program at the National CyberWatch Center, and they're housed in Prince George Community College in Largo, Maryland. So we currently have around 6,000 participants and 525 plus colleges and universities across the United States, and then we have some outside of the States. Next slide. So our vision is to cultivate a global community that's for cybersecurity support students in their cybersecurity endeavors through extracurricular activities, career opportunities, mentoring, and keeping them at the forefront of cybersecurity trends. Next slide. And our objectives here is to support the young generation to challenge the status quo of cybersecurity. And we also want to increase the awareness of cybersecurity threats and the importance of security through students and in the community. We encourage resource sharing and collaboration, and we facilitate cybersecurity recruitment and retention. We also support minors, women, disabled, and veterans pursuing a cybersecurity career. Next slide. So we have a couple different ways to join the Student Association, and here is a list of some of the benefits. So it's $19.99 for annual membership. That's 1 year membership. Get to gain access to our member portal, and we have a bunch of resources in the portal, a bunch of scholarships, cybersecurity competitions. We have a job portal in there. We share our monthly webcasts. We have student chapter meetings. We have an event calendar, and we have a bunch of resources in there. Next slide. And the two other memberships we have is one for 6 months. So that's $9.99 biannually. It's the same benefits as the 1 year membership. And then we also have a participant, which is free. So this membership is free. You can stay up to date with Student Association's activities. You can participate in our Student Association programs or event to maintain your participant status. You can upgrade your membership to receive discounts on events, skills, assessments, and partner programs, and much more. Next slide. So we currently have about 26 student chapters. Pre-COVID, we had about 56. So I know COVID was a tough time moving from in-person on campus to online. So our student chapters have came down, but we're working hard to get them back up. So these student chapters, they provide an outlet to cultivate an ecosystem of cybersecurity professionals at a local level and areas across the nation, and expand and fostering the culture. Next slide. So we have a chapter development webcast coming up. So it's October 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So it'll be myself, and then we have a new director of chapter development, Dr. Diego Tibacura. So if you want to join, or we're going to talk about student chapters, how to start chapters, tips on how to maximize your student chapter's potential, and the benefits of having a chapter, and then we'll be there to answer questions. You can also go to cyberstudents.org/category/webcast to sign up for that webcast. Next slide. So this is one of our foundational chapters, and Waukesha Technical College, and that's Mark Brzezinski is an instructor and in Wisconsin. Next slide. So if you're interested in starting a chapter, you must be 18 years of age or older to be a member and to start a chapter, be a member and be a member of the chapter. So faculty members, you gotta have one faculty member from your academic institution. That faculty member must be a member of the National CyberWatch Center, academic member, and is free. Once the academic member, faculty member is a member of CyberWatch, they also get a membership for the Student Association. And those credentials are the same for CyberWatch and Student Association. And then you also need 3 chapter officers minimum. So you're gonna need a president, vice president, secretary, or a treasurer. And if you want more information on how to start your chapter, you could email diego@chapters@cyberstudents.org, or you can go to our website under the student chapters information, and there's a link to start the process. Next slide. So so once you become a chapter, we give you a package which includes the bylaws, meeting minutes, guide, a couple of guidance documentations, how to establish club, guide to better meeting minutes, a semester report, a presentation for the students, and a student association flyer. Then we also would like to meet with the chapter and talk about how we can build it up, and how we can work together to collaborate on a national level. Next slide. This is a couple social media platforms that we have. So we have Twitter, we have a Facebook, we have a YouTube. So all our webcasts, we place them on our YouTube page. And then we also have a LinkedIn group, so you can join in on the conversation. Next slide. So if you want to get involved, if you want to become a member, or if you want to start a chapter, there's a couple of volunteer opportunities for students and faculty. You can join our advisory board, you can join our chapter development committee, or our research and development committee. You could also partner with us or sponsor us. Next slide. So this is my information. If you want to contact me, I got my email on there, my LinkedIn. And if you have any questions about student association, just shoot me an email and we'll schedule a time to talk. At this time, I'll hand it over to Blake.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to be sharing with you the results of the National Cybersecurity Student Association COVID-19 Perception Survey. So I'll give you some background about this survey. It was distributed to approximately 5,700 NCSA members or students who have engaged in NCSA programming. The survey sample was limited to students who indicated they were presently enrolled in a college or university. And the survey window remained open for 6 weeks in fall of 2020. The survey was designed to get a better understanding of how the pandemic has impacted 4 main areas from the student's perspective: the college student experience, access to resources, persistence, and student support for remote learning. The confidential survey was completed via SurveyMonkey by 53 respondents, but as you'll see as we move through some of the graphs, not all 53 students responded to all questions. So here are the demographics of who responded. On the left, we have age of respondents. 55% of respondents were between 25 and 44 years of age. 40% of the 53 respondents identified as female. And on the right here, you can see 34% of respondents were pursuing an associate's degree, and 36% were pursuing a bachelor's degree. All right, so here are just some small multiples that show how students responded to the first 7 questions, or 6, I believe, using a standard Likert scale. So I'm going to give you some background information and then we'll move through the specifics. During the spring 2020 semester and prior to the mandatory campus closures in response to COVID-19, 55% of respondents took the majority of their courses online. 1/4 of respondents were enrolled in hybrid courses and 21% were enrolled in face-to-face courses. The online students fared better than their face-to-face counterparts in the wake of institutional and instructional changes necessitated by COVID-19. Students enrolled in face-to-face courses as of March 2020 expressed a need for greater support to navigate their institution's online learning platform, access digital resources, and work remotely with their academic community. At the time of this survey, 82% of respondents were confident that they remained on track to continue their studies uninterrupted and graduate with their degree. Changes brought about by COVID-19 have impacted the students' concentration, time available to complete coursework, and career plans. Okay, so students were asked about their perceptions of instructional support. And in the next few graphs, it's broken down by modality. So the top bar there is face-to-face, hybrid, and then the bottom is online. 82% of respondents who were most recently enrolled in online courses agreed that the faculty and staff at their institution provided sufficient support to help with the transition to remote learning. But as you can see, the face-to-face students were much less favorable in terms of the support they received during this transition. 70% of respondents who were most recently enrolled in online courses agreed that the faculty and staff at their institution provided sufficient support about the potential impact of COVID-19 on their ability to pay for college. And this could be anything from financial aid to student loans, etc. So here again, the online students definitely fared better in this regard than their counterparts that were taking primarily face-to-face or hybrid courses. The next two items talk about collaboration by instructional modality. So here, 100% of respondents who were most recently enrolled in face-to-face courses agreed that the transition to remote learning made it challenging to collaborate with their peers. And not surprisingly, the online students seem to have a better time with this transition because they were already very familiar with Canvas or whatever the LMS may have been, accessing online resources, knowing the best approach to doing discussion forums and various assignments that were facilitated in an online format exclusively. 100% of respondents who were most recently enrolled in face-to-face courses agreed that the transition to remote learning also made it challenging to collaborate with their professors. When asked to share what factor is having the greatest influence on whether or not they planned to continue their studies in fall 2020, 12 of the 38 respondents cited financial considerations. So this graph shows factors influencing coursework completion. So work obligations, family obligations, and student support services were the most frequently cited factors impacting the student's ability to complete their coursework. And as you can see in the population pyramid, there's some disparity here in the obligations of the male and female respondents. So we took that one step further and broke that particular question down by age and gender. So here you can see that both male and female respondents between 25 and 34 years of age were the most likely to indicate that work obligations were a factor impacting their ability to complete their coursework. In this population pyramid, you can see female respondents age 25 to 34 and male respondents between 34 and 44 years of age were the most likely to indicate that family obligations were a factor impacting their ability to complete their coursework. Okay, students were asked to list the obstacles that they faced as a result of COVID-19. So the leader here is either a job loss or pay cut, followed by a change in living arrangements. These were the most frequently cited obstacles brought about by COVID-19. Respondents were also managing illness, death of a loved one, childcare responsibilities, and technology challenges. Some students provided direct quotes about the obstacles they were facing, and some of the most frequently cited examples were isolation, not sufficient study space at home, a lot more distractions and obligations to tend to, and challenges with their career trajectory in terms of internships and apprenticeships, and not being able to secure those things in a timely manner because of COVID. So here are some quotes directly from the respondents themselves. This was an open-ended question. They were asked, describe how the events surrounding COVID-19 have altered your career plans. And so something about it, the feeling like the marketplace is on hold, not having access to internships. The bottom one here talks about security clearance. So it definitely sounds like there were some hurdles that the students were facing in terms of the timeline that they anticipated in terms of completion, and then getting some experiential learning under their belt. Family obligations limiting time, businesses have closed down, postponed graduation by a semester to focus on life necessities. Some challenges here with securing either a full-time position and now looking for remote employment, and trying to find something in the field as opposed to something more general. And here's the last series of quotes about how students have altered their career plans based on the challenges surrounding COVID-19. Questions, comments?
Thanks, Blake. This is Casey. What was the driving factor for creating this survey in the first place?
So at the year 4 NVC for the National CyberWatch Center, one of, I believe, the program officer, in discussion with some of the team members, mentioned that it would be really helpful to know how COVID-19 was impacting the students specifically, in terms of, were they able to continue with their studies? What obstacles were they facing, financial and otherwise? So I believe that was the impetus for us designing this survey.
And remind us again when it was administered.
This was administered in the fall of 2020.
So a year ago. I wonder, are there plans or is there interest in administering it again, and then seeing what sorts of things are consistent or have changed? Or
I believe we've had preliminary discussions about doing that. I'm guessing now that the resource center is officially up and running, that would be something we might want to circle back and address if we want to re-administer the survey this year.
thank you. And if I'm let's say I'm an educator at a 2 or 4 year school, how might I use some of the results of this?
I think the results, not surprisingly, show the discrepancy and the challenges faced by students who are much more familiar with a traditional face-to-face format for instruction versus students who are already a little bit more tech savvy and are comfortable in an online environment for their courses. So I think it really just heightened the gap between those two groups. And with this migration to fully online learning that happened rather quickly in light of COVID, it really shows that some students fared quite well because, again, they were comfortable in the environment, they were familiar with how to access certain things, and the students, maybe they were more non-traditional students, or just students that were older, or maybe more impacted by the digital divide, definitely had a greater struggle trying to keep up with their studies and find time and space and concentration to continue.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, then I'd like to thank you for coming, and I'd like to thank Gus and Blake for spending time with us and presenting your findings. And be sure to check your inbox for future webcast invitations and links to today's recording. Once we clean it up a little bit, we'll add it to our YouTube channel and send an email with a link to the recording. And thank you all for all you're doing to keep yourself, your family, and others safe and healthy. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.